throw-'s got to go to the keeper's in. He's got it. England have won the World Cup by the fairest of margins.
Whenever I watch this, I think, only if the rule was fairer. And I'm not alone. Unfortunately, this is not the first time that a cricket rule played spoil sport at the biggest stage of cricket. So today, in Crazy Cricket Chronicles, let's look back at a thrilling World Cup match that not only was robbed by a rule, but by TV broadcasting as well.
Six sixes in that over. After 28 years.
Before we head straight into the game, let me tell you the backstory. South Africa, a country which was crippled by apartheid, a policy which involved segregation and discrimination against people who were non-white. And cricket wasn't spared from the effects of this either, as South African cricket had to remain isolated from international cricket for more than 20 years. 1975, 1979, 1983 and 1987. South Africa wasn't even a part of the first 4 men's World Cups. And it wasn't clear even at the 11th hour whether South Africa would get to play the 1992 World Cup. Would the ICC allow South Africa to play in the World Cup? Why, you ask? You see, the referendum where South Africans would vote for or against ending apartheid was still some time away. And it was to happen during the middle of the tournament. The ICC did allow South Africa's participation in the World Cup.
South Africa officially back at international level after all these years.
On one condition though, the result of the referendum should be a yes. If the referendum resulted in a no, South Africa would be sent back halfway through the tournament. Crazy, right? This was the first World Cup to have coloured clothing and also the first to be played with a white ball. South Africa exceeded all the expectations, perhaps even their own. Take this for instance. Or the fact that they defeated defending champions Australia in their opening game itself, which was their World Cup debut. Displaying flair and quality in their game, South Africa marched to the semi-finals of the tournament, beating the likes of Australia, West Indies, Pakistan, and also winning a must-win game against India. A few days before the semis, the referendum took place, and the result of the referendum was a yes, which meant that South Africa could now play in the semis after all. Now to the semi-final. South Africa were all excited to play in their first ever World Cup and also got to be in the semis. But little did they or anyone else know what fate had in store for them. Second innings of the match, South Africa are chasing and are in need of 22 runs of 13 balls. Now this was not that tough an ask for them, considering they had scored 25 runs of their last 17 deliveries and had the momentum with them. But then there was a slight rain interruption of around 10 to 12 minutes. Rain has never been a happy sight for the players and also the fans. Now, Duckworth-Lewis Stern method is the method that's currently used in international cricket for all these rain-affected games to figure out targets for teams batting second. But back then, there was a different rule altogether for rain. So, what was that rule? In order to calculate the target for the team batting second, the least productive overs of the team batting first were reduced from the equation. So, for example, a team bats first, scores 250 runs in 50 overs. After that, there's rain and 3 overs are lost to rain. So the second innings would be of 47 overs instead, and the runs scored by the team batting first in its 3 least productive overs would be reduced. Say the 3 least productive overs of the side batting first were a maiden over and 1 run each in 2 other overs. These 2 runs would be deducted from the total of the revised target. This rule was in place since the team batting second still had time to alter their approach according to the revised target. But there was something amiss. What about those situations where rain interruptions happened during the innings, not at the beginning? 22 required of 13 balls, and then there's rain for 10 to 12 minutes. Remember? And there was something else which was very weird, which is pretty much the other reason which brought this thrilling semi-final to an unfortunate end. Australia's TV broadcast. 3.5 hours, the stipulated time for each innings. That meant each innings had to be completed within that time, and there was no flexibility whatsoever for rain or any other reason. In case the bowling side bowled their overs slowly in the first innings, then the batting side will get lesser number of overs to bat in those 3.5 hours. And then the chase would be of that many overs only. And if there was rain in the second innings, the team batting would lose overs. For heaven's sake, it's an ICC event, that to a World Cup. And what was feared is what exactly happened. When South Africa won the toss in the semi-final, they chose to field first. And this was surprising considering this rain rule might come back to haunt them.
About the rain?
Yeah, it is a calculated risk, but if it rains while we're bowling, it's not too bad. It's the problem comes if you're batting tonight and it rains. But that's a risk we're prepared to take, and we're going to stick to our basic tactics.
South Africa also did something which you and I won't say was in the spirit of the game. The match started 10 minutes late due to rain, and South Africa knew that the England innings had to be completed by 6:10 pm, and if the full quota of 50 overs wasn't completed by then, the innings would still be over. South Africa eventually bowled only 45 overs in the allotted 3.5 hours. That robbed England of 5 overs at the death where they could have accelerated their scoring rate. England managed 252 in those 45 overs, and they didn't even know beforehand that they would eventually play fewer overs. If they had known from before, they would have planned their innings accordingly. So those who say South Africa were the unlucky ones that day, here's some food for thought for you. As per ESPN Cricinfo, the current Duckworth-Lewis turn method would have readjusted this total to just over 270 runs of 45 overs. That too with fewer overs of field restrictions. But with that rain rule, South Africa had to chase no more than 253 of 45 overs. That too with the full 15 overs of field restrictions. At this point, it's fair to say it was only one team which was dealt a bad hand, and it was England, not South Africa. The South African innings ebbed and flowed. At the loss of Adrian Caper, Jonty Rhodes came into bat with around 120 runs required at more than a run a ball. He smashed 43 of 38 balls to get South Africa back in the game, and South Africa had a lot of hope with the way Brian McMillan and David Richardson were going. South Africa needed 22 runs of the last 13 balls, pretty manageable considering McMillan and Richardson had gotten the momentum with 25 runs of the last 17 balls. And then this happened. 10 to 12 minutes later, the play resumes. No Duckworth-Lewis turn here. So it's 22 runs of 7 balls now. What? Nobody's able to digest this. Okay, wait. There's some miscommunication happening on the ground. It's actually 22 runs of 1 ball.
Has just come back to me and said that the umpires have come back to him and they've changed it to say that there is only 1 ball remaining. Although
Yes, you heard that right. 22 runs of a single ball is what South Africa need to enter the final. And on top of all this madness, there was also a miscalculation because it was actually 21 runs of 1 ball. My mind is going into an overdrive. Is it even possible to score that many? Let's see. 3 no balls with 6s on each of them? I know it sounds like a fantasy or a daydream, but for South Africa, it was pretty much a nightmare. So this is what happened. Some minutes got lost. Now there was time for only 1 ball to be played. You remember, right? The TV broadcast had a time limit beyond which the game couldn't go. And believe it or not, all this is happening in the middle of a World Cup semi-final, which was going for a thrilling finish. They can't extend the game by another 10 minutes? ESPN Cricinfo states that the competition rules allowed for a reserve day for the match. But the host broadcaster Channel 9 insisted that the match be finished on the scheduled day itself. Dumbfounded by the absurdity of it all, Brian McMillan could do just this on the last ball of this ill-fated game.
It's pushed away to mid-wicket. You can see that all the players are disappointed with that end. The crowd.
South Africa had so much going for them. End of apartheid, re-entry into international cricket, their first dash at a World Cup, winning hearts with their performances, a position from where they could have entered the finals of their first ever World Cup. All that remained was a World Cup trophy. That would have just been the icing on the cake for a nation that was in a way reborn. This match stays on in public memory for what it was, a farce. A weird rain rule, and on top of that, the rigidity of TV broadcasting not just ruined what could have been one of the most thrilling finishes to a game, a World Cup knockout game nonetheless, it also killed a South African dream. But the heartbreak was not just South Africa's, it was for every cricket lover, the ones who believe in fair play. Hey hi, if you enjoyed that video, please like and share. The whole point of our channel is to ask fun and compelling questions, explore weird and intriguing stories, and delve into secret histories. So if that's something you are into, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.